Let me tell you something. Nothing really prepares you for that moment when you step outside with a half-warm cup of coffee, still groggy, still thinking about emails, bills, and whether you locked your truck the night before, and then you realize something important is missing, not misplaced, not maybe I parked it somewhere else. Missing, gone, like it never existed. That was me, standing in my driveway in Cedar Ridge Estates just outside Mesa Verde, Arizona, staring at an empty slab of concrete where a 16-foot emergency generator trailer had sat for the past 3 years. And my first thought wasn't panic. It was, did I finally lose my mind? Because when you work 16-hour shifts, volunteer nights, and weekends, and your sleep schedule looks like a stock market chart during a recession, your brain does strange things. So I just stood there blinking, sipping terrible coffee, convincing myself I must have parked it somewhere else. I walked to the sidewalk and scanned the street. Nothing. Checked behind my truck. Nothing. Walked back again. Still nothing. And that's when it hit me. Someone took it. Not borrowed. Not moved. Took it. Here's what you need to know about me. My name is Ethan Walker. During the day, I'm a systems engineer for a telecom company. Nights, weekends, holidays. Whenever disaster decides to show up, I'm a volunteer firefighter with Mesa Verde Rescue. 8 years in. No paycheck. No glory. Just pager alerts, sweat, smoke, an occasional quiet thank you from someone whose house is still standing. That trailer wasn't mine. It belonged to the department. Inside were portable generators, floodlights, medical backup power, satellite communications, rescue tools, about $20,000 worth of equipment used for desert rescues, wildfire staging, blackout zones. It stayed at my house because I was closest to the canyon region. When things go wrong out there, minutes matter, sometimes seconds. So yeah, that empty driveway felt like a punch to the gut. I pulled out my phone and called Captain Reynolds. He answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. Walker, this better be good. It's barely 6. Yeah, I said, try not to sound like I was about to throw up. Someone took the trailer. Silence. Took, like stole. I think the HOA towed it. Now, if you ever lived under a homeowners association, you already know where this is heading. 2 weeks earlier, I'd gotten a violation notice. Bright yellow paper. Big, bold letters. Unauthorized commercial vehicle. I emailed them back immediately. Explained everything. Attached photos, registration papers, a department letter, even my supervisor's contact info. The reply? 3 sentences. Cold, polite, empty. Rules apply equally to all residents. No exceptions. Please comply within 14 days. Signed, Melissa Harper, HOA President. And if that name sounds like trouble, yeah, it was. On Reynolds' end, I heard a sharp inhale. Okay, don't touch anything. I'm calling City Legal. Meet me at the impound lot. I hung up, walked to my mailbox, and there it was. Fresh notice. Still stiff. Your unauthorized trailer has been removed in accordance with community guidelines. Retrieval fee, $180. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was insane. They had towed government emergency equipment and were charging me for it. The audacity was honestly impressive. By the time I got dressed, Captain Reynolds pulled up with Lieutenant Perez and City Attorney Lauren Kim. All 3 looked energized, not coffee energized. Lawsuit energized. Reynolds leaned out the window. Get in. We're about to educate some people. On the drive, Lauren filled me in. HOA board in Arizona have authority over parking, aesthetics, landscaping, stuff like that. They do not have authority over municipal emergency assets. Not even close. And she added, gripping her tablet, the fact that it's clearly marked makes this worse. Worse how? Criminal level worse. We pulled into Desert Valley Impound at 7:12 a.m., and there it was, my trailer, sitting in the back corner, bright red rescue unit decals glowing in the sun like they were mocking everyone involved. We walked into the office. It smelled like burnt coffee and regret. Behind the counter sat a kid scrolling TikTok. He looked up, saw 3 uniforms and a lawyer, and instantly regretted every life choice he'd ever made. Lauren stepped forward. I'm Lauren Kim, City Attorney. We're here for the illegally towed municipal emergency trailer. The kid blinked. Let me get my manager. 2 minutes later, a heavy-set man named Ron came out, already sweating. Look, we just follow orders, he said. HOA authorized it. Lauren smiled, the kind of smile that means someone's day is about to get significantly worse. Did you verify registration? No. Notice the markings? Well, release it now. Ron hesitated. Reynolds leaned in. That trailer responds to disasters. Delay it again and we'll be discussing negligence. 10 minutes later, we were hooking it up. No fee, no signature, no argument. As we worked, Lauren was on the phone. I caught phrases like municipal liability, interference with emergency response, gross negligence. I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Back at the station, I inspected every inch. New scratches, documented, filed reports. Then my phone buzzed. Text from Reynolds. City Hall. 2 p.m. dress uniform. That's when I knew Melissa Harper wasn't just stubborn. She was about to go to war, and she had absolutely no idea what battlefield she'd chosen. All right, real quick, before we dive into the courtroom drama, the emails, the shouting matches, and everything that comes next, I want to slow this down for a moment, because this is the part most people miss. This is where situations like mine stop being bad luck and start becoming predictable. According to standard procedure, HOAs are basically mini governments with extremely limited authority. They can dictate the color of your fence, how tall your grass is allowed to grow, whether a boat can sit in your driveway. But that's where their power stops. They are not law enforcement. They are not regulators. And they are absolutely not permitted to touch government property. From a legal standpoint, the moment Melissa's board approved that tow without verifying ownership, they cross a line from rule enforcement into property interference. In plain terms, they took something that didn't belong to them and didn't belong to me. That's theft, wrapped in paperwork and justified with a clipboard. Now here's where psychology comes into play. This is a trap people in small positions of power fall into all the time. You give someone control over parking rules, mailbox styles, trash cans, and slowly, subconsciously, they start believing they control people. Not policies, not guidelines, people. Melissa had been HOA president for 6 years, unchallenged, re-elected twice. No real opposition. Everyone just went along. So, in her mind, enforcing rules stopped being about compliance and became about proving authority. When I pushed back, politely, with documentation, that wasn't information to her. It was a threat. And people like that don't process threats logically. They double down. They escalate. They convince themselves they're protecting the community, when in reality, they're protecting their ego. The lesson here is most HOA disasters aren't caused by bad rules. They're caused by unchecked personalities running those rules. And when legal reality finally collides with personal pride, someone is going to lose. In this story, it wasn't going to be me. By the time I walked into City Hall that afternoon, I already knew 2 things. First, whatever happened in that conference room was going to be ugly. Second, Melissa Harper wasn't coming to apologize. People like her never do. The 3rd floor conference wing was quiet in that specific way government buildings always are. Soft footsteps, low voices, air conditioning humming like it's trying to calm everyone down. Captain Reynolds and Lieutenant Perez waited outside the room in full dress uniform. Lauren Kim was already inside, setting up her laptop and laying documents across the table like she was preparing for war. Deputy City Manager Thomas Avery was there too, tall, gray-haired, calm in that unsettling I fire people for a living kind of way. He shook my hand. Ethan, we reviewed your file. Your service record is excellent. You did everything right. That meant more than he probably realized. At exactly 9 o'clock, Melissa arrived. Designer blazer, perfect makeup, phone already in her hand like she was ready to live tweet the apocalypse. Behind her came her attorney, Greg Lawson, a thin man with tired eyes and the posture of someone who already knew his client was a liability. We sat. No small talk. No smiles. Avery opened the meeting. Mrs. Harper, we're here to discuss the unauthorized towing of municipal emergency equipment from Mr. Walker's residence. I'll be direct. Your HOA acted legally. Melissa didn't blink. With respect, we enforced our covenants. Mr. Walker violated them. No one is above the rules. Lauren slid a stack of papers across the table. Registration, assignment orders, department authorization. All signed, all verified. Greg picked them up. His expression changed almost instantly. That was the moment he realized he was standing on a sinking ship. Melissa waved a hand dismissively. Anyone can print documents. Stickers don't make something official. Reynolds leaned forward. Forward. That sticker is a rescue designation, he said. That trailer powers medical stations, and it was sitting in a driveway. She snapped back, not saving anyone. Lauren didn't raise her voice. It doesn't have to be actively deployed to be protected. The law recognizes staging. Melissa scoffed. Convenient interpretation. That's when Avery shifted. And when a city manager shifts, you pay attention. Mrs. Harper, he said evenly, you have two options. She folded her arms. I'm listening. Option 1. You acknowledge the mistake. You reimburse the towing company. You sign an agreement never to interfere with emergency equipment again. This ends today. Silence. Option 2, he continued. We file criminal and civil charges. Theft of municipal property. Interference with emergency services. Financial damages. Greg leaned in, whispering urgently. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the panic. Melissa shook her head. Loud. Clear. I will not be bullied by the city, she said. We'll see what a judge thinks. The room went still. Lauren and Avery exchanged a glance. Reynolds closed his folder. That's your answer. Yes, Avery said, nodding once. Very well. And just like that, the meeting was over. No shouting, no theatrics, just paperwork turning into weapons. Within 24 hours, the city filed a civil suit. $52,000. Criminal referral to the county prosecutor. Emergency injunction granted. Melissa went nuclear. Emails to residents. Facebook posts. Local radio interviews. Government overreach. Targeted harassment. Protecting homeowners. She painted herself as a martyr. The problem was, receipts exist. Lauren released everything. The emails, my prior notices, the markings, the registration, all of it. Local news picked it up, and the narrative flipped overnight. HOA tows emergency equipment. Volunteer firefighter targeted. Legal action filed. Neighbors stopped waving to Melissa. Board members distanced themselves. Then came court. 3 weeks later. Wood panel courtroom. Judge Elena Ramirez presiding. Sharp. Direct. No patience for nonsense. Lauren went first. Timeline, evidence, photos, testimony. Reynolds explained response delays. I testified about prior communication. Then Greg tried. Good faith enforcement. Misunderstanding. No intent. Then Melissa took the stand. And I swear, she believed every word she said. I acted for community, she insisted. Rules matter. Judge Ramirez looked at her. Did you verify ownership? No. Did you contact the department? No. Did you receive written notice? Yes. Pause. And you proceeded anyway? Yes. That pause, that silence right after, was the sound of a case collapsing. 10 days later, Lauren called me. We won. Damages, $47,500. Permanent injunction. Policy reform. The HOA had to pay. Special assessment. $520 per household. The neighborhood exploded. Emergency meeting. Yelling. Accusations. Vote of no confidence. Melissa lost 71-4. Removed, but it still wasn't over. The criminal case moved forward. Different judge. Different lawyer. Higher stakes. Emails proved intent. She knew. She ignored. She escalated. Verdict guilty. Misdemeanor theft. Probation. Community service. Restitution. When I heard, I didn't celebrate. I just exhaled. Months of stress. Months of tension. Finally over. The trailer stayed. New HOA leadership issued formal apologies. New policies protected volunteers. Other associations copied them. Slowly, life went back to normal. Except it wasn't really normal because something had shifted. The balance of power, the understanding, the respect. Melissa wanted control. What she got were consequences. After the rulings, the fines, the headlines faded, and people stopped whispering in grocery store aisles. Life settled into something familiar. I went back to work, answered pager alerts, hooked up the trailer when storms hit the canyon, pulled stranded hikers out of places they never should have been, paid my mortgage, argued with my internet provider. Regular life. But I wasn't the same guy who stood in his driveway that morning with bad coffee and no trailer. Once you go through something like this, you see systems differently. You see how fragile fairness is, how much it depends on who's in charge, how fast it breaks when ego gets involved. The lesson here is rules are only as good as the people enforcing them. HOAs exist for a reason. In theory, they protect shared spaces, keep neighborhoods livable, prevent chaos, and sometimes they do. But when transparency disappears, leadership goes unchallenged, and procedure turns into personal authority. Things go sideways fast. According to standard procedure, every HOA should have appeal processes, verification requirements, and legal review before extreme action. Most don't. They rely on volunteers with zero legal training, making decisions with real financial and emotional consequences. From a legal standpoint, this case taught me how powerful documentation is. Every email I saved, every photo I took, every polite, boring message instead of snapping back. That's what protected me. Not anger, not arguments. Paper trails, receipts, timestamps. If you're dealing with an HOA right now, hear me clearly. Document everything. Always. This is a psychological trap most residents fall into. They assume being reasonable guarantees reasonable outcomes. It doesn't. It only works if the other side is capable of self-reflection. Some people aren't. Some people see compromise as weakness. When that happens, you need structure, not emotion. Another thing I learned, community isn't built by uniformity. It's built by understanding. Melissa thought she was protecting property values. What she actually did was fracture trust, create sides, turn neighbors into opponents, and cost everyone money. The new board, they talk first, investigate second, decide last. And surprise, property values didn't collapse. The sky didn't fall. No RV apocalypse. Just calmer people living normal lives. For fellow volunteers, first responders, healthcare workers, anyone who keeps equipment at home because the job demands it, know your rights. Read your bylaws. Learn your state statutes. Keep supervisors informed. Don't assume they wouldn't do that, because sometimes they will. And finally, on a personal level, this taught me something about courage. Not the movie version. Not running into flames. Not last-second heroics. The boring kind. Staying calm. Answering emails. Showing up to meetings. Trusting process. Refusing to become bitter. That's harder. And it matters more. A year later, that trailer is still in my driveway. Still visible. Still legal. Still ready. And every time I hook it up for a call, I think about how close it came to being locked behind a fence because someone couldn't admit they were wrong. So if you're dealing with an HOA, if you've been labeled difficult for asking questions, if you've been told that's just how it is, remember this story. Systems only work when people hold them accountable. Now, I'm curious, have you ever had a run-in with an HOA? Did they help you or make your life harder? Drop your story in the comments. I read them. And trust me, you're not alone. If this helped you understand your rights, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Because sometimes all it takes is one person standing their ground to change the rules for everyone. And sometimes that person might be you.